Wait, let me go close the door.
Yes.
As soon as
restart your recordings.
Let me shut the door.
Okay. Why, hi there. It's time once again for another action-packed episode of the Digital Dice Podcast. It's episode 76, Trombones in the Big Parade. I'm Ron.
I'm Dave, and it's the spirit of 76, as you'd say.
It's a bicentennial.
It is. I was around for that. I remember the parade.
So do I. I was 4. I was at a camp in Scotia, New York. Clover Patch Camp. It was a special camp for those of us with special needs.
Okay.
And so we were at the camp, and they brought us into town for the Bicentennial Parade, July 4th, 1976.
I remember they had
the tall ships. Did you go see the tall ships?
I didn't go see the tall ships. I didn't. But I remember when they had the 1976 Bicentennial Parade. It was a big deal up here in my town, and the Goodyear blimp landed over the next town over, and then was flying over the parade, and that was a big deal because I think that was the only blimp. I think it was the only blimp at the time, of something like that. Obviously, we had other, but so I remember I had my camera ready to take a picture of the blimp, and I'm in the bathroom. I'm going to the bathroom, and my mother's like, the blimp, and I'm running out of the bathroom, grabbing my pants around my ankles, and I got my camera, and I'm going outside, pulling up my pants, and I'm trying to take a picture of the blimp, and I got it. I got a picture of the blimp.
Oh, good.
And then a few days later, the neighbor next door comes on and goes, I got a picture of the blimp, but mostly I got your house, so here it is. But there's a picture of the Goodyear blimp right over my house as a kid, and that was a big deal.
That was a huge deal.
Yeah.
There wasn't the Snoopy or the
MetLife. Yeah. I think there was just the Hindenburg and the Goodyear blimp. That's all there was.
Oh, the humanity.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, that was a big deal. I remember that. Like, I'm running out of the house, trying to pull up my pants with my little snap camera, whatever I had in 1976. I still think I got that picture somewhere. I got the tail end of it.
Post that
if I can find
on the Facebook group, because that would be so cool.
Yeah, if I can find some of those old pictures somewhere.
Were the Red Sox home that day? Where they're doing it for? Actually, I think most of the networks did new stuff that day for the Bicentennial.
I don't remember,
because that was you got the good you saw the Goodyear blimp. There were 4 blimps, 4 Goodyear blimps, and they were posted in different parts of the country. But you got them for Major Championship golf and tennis. You got them for the World Series, the All-Star.
They wouldn't land at Logan. They would come up here to the smaller airport next to me. In fact, there's blimps that land all the time over there, and people go over and take pictures. But it was just a big deal that we had that little airport here, and that's where it would land and refuel and everything, and then fly back over Boston.
Back in '76, that would have been an absolute huge deal.
That was a big deal for me. So anyway, episode 76 of the Digital to Dice podcast. Ways to get a hold of us. Digitaltodice.com is the website. The Dice line, 978-751-DICE, 978-751-3423. Send us a text, and we may or may not read it on the show. And digitaltodice@yahoo.com is the email. And over on Facebook, facebook.com/group/digitaltodice. You can join us over there. And I posted a picture this morning. My Seals fridge magnet came in.
Oh, is that new?
That's new. I thought
I
had one as a kid, and I lost it. And
I saw the Flames one.
Yeah, several years ago, my mother for Christmas handed me this Ziploc baggie, and she goes, "Here's all the little magnets that you had as a kid that were still on my fridge, if you want them." And it was some Atlanta Flames. It was the Freakies cereal. If you remember the Freakies cereal, we had magnets for them, so she gave me all of those. And I have them on my fridge, and I use them, but I didn't have a Seals one. I had old Bruins one, too. I don't know what the heck it is, but yeah, so I was like, I'm going to get the Seals one. And they went for big money on eBay, and one guy had it fairly cheap. And I was like, I'll grab it. Here, $15-20 with free shipping, I'll take it, So I got the Seals one up on the fridge now. I was pretty excited.
I saw you post that. That's cool.
Yep, and I also behind me, you can't see because we're on the podcast, but maybe on my next stream or my next video, you'll see the new Kansas City Scouts pennant.
That's in great shape too, by the way.
You know, it is. It's like brand. It's almost like they just made it. You know, so I don't know if it's an original, if it's a knockoff, but they were going $50-$60 on eBay. One guy wanted like $8 and buy it now. So even if it's a knockoff, I don't care. It looks good behind me.
It looks nice
for $8. Nice. I don't care if somebody just reprinted it or not because it's in good shape and it's for $8. I just use it for decoration anyway.
Yeah, I'd rather them sell it as a knockoff for that than full price for.
Yeah, exactly.
For something that's I kind of wonder about how vintage this ABC Sports one is, the one that attacked me.
Yeah,
but
it's vintage now.
Oh yes, it is. It is vintage now, and my wife got her money's worth and more out of that.
We all did. So anyway, what do you want to talk about today in episode 76?
We're going to talk about scratching that niche.
Okay.
Most of everyone here plays baseball, football, some basketball or hockey, but the depth and the variety of games out there is something to literally scratch everyone's niche. We've had Joe Bryan on from Payoff Pitch, and he's talked about his sumo wrestling game. There's a tractor trailer pulling from Downey. We've talked about Roberto Savini an awful lot, and a lot of those games are niche. Even if you play one of the bigger four, but maybe a smaller league, the Continental Football League or a minor league baseball, whatever that niche is, you could find a way to scratch it, and it doesn't involve any medications or prescriptions.
No creams.
No creams. No creams.
All right. So we will get into that right after we do the usual.
Yes. Aunt Becky, stop sending Valentines over to the prison. You're gone from there.
Just in case she needs, you want to stay on good terms. You don't want to burn any bridges.
No, that's true.
She might have another kid going to college. You never know.
Just buy a library.
I know. Yeah, we talked about that. We're not going to go through that again. All right. Anyway, so you kick it off. What have you been playing over there, Mr. Ron?
Let's see. Well, your favorite replay of all time continues, the 1949 baseball replay.
I noticed that you've been pretty consistent with that, and you fought through a lot of debilitating injuries and sicknesses to play that, but I noticed you had the sniffles one day and you canceled hockey. So, yes, please tell us more about this baseball season that you will fight through anything in play.
When's the last time you streamed a game, Gardner?
I've been busy.
Okay. So we just passed Memorial Day in my 1949 baseball replay, the most popular baseball replay on my channel this year anyway. And so we got a 4-team race in the National League. The Phillies, the Cardinals, the Giants, and the Dodgers are all fighting for first place. And if we get that the rest of the way, it's going to make for a fun second half. Some people might enjoy it, Gardner. I'm not quite sure.
And this is Action PC Baseball, right?
This is Action PC Baseball.
Okay.
The American League, I keep waiting for who's in first place? I know you're giving me a hard time about that. It would be the most unlikely pennant winner, I think, ever. Because in real life, the Washington Senators went 54-100 or something like that in the regular season. They are, as of today, this whatever day we're taping this Wednesday, they are we're in June 8th or 9th, and they are a game and a half up on the Yankees in first place.
Now, you were telling me that
if they win 24 more games, they will have beaten their real life total.
Okay, now, but you told me that this is the season that one of the Yankees missed the first half?
Joe DiMaggio.
Okay.
It wasn't just any Yankee. It was Mr. Coffey.
I forget. I knew it was somebody I knew, but I forget which one it was.
And so I just keep. I had to look the other day because a joke about I do these replays, and I'm a Red Sox fan, and the Red Sox never do well by replays. It's kind of like if you remember Mary Tyler Moore, Mary Richards' parties always sucked. Do you remember? Yeah, it's kind of like me with the Red Sox. Oh, we're going to have a good Red Sox team in a replay. No, we're not. No, we're not. And so curiosity got the better of me. And I looked, and that first week of June, they were a couple of games above 500, but they were still 7.5, 8 games out of first, which made me feel better, which means the game is doing what it's supposed to do. And so I'll stop with the moving to Montreal jokes. But if the Senators somehow don't come down to reality, that would be one of the greatest stories ever. Because, again, 50, 52, 53, 54, and 100. And have you ever seen the movie Damn Yankees?
I might have.
It was a Broadway show. Gwen Verdon did the Broadway show, and we've talked about this in the game. It wasn't Van Johnson, but some sort of similar blonde Hollywood hunkish actor in the 50s that there. The movie's called Damn Yankees, and it was a guy who pretty much sold his soul to the devil to make the Senators to get past the Yankees. And so it's an old man, and he is given this potion, and he drinks it and becomes this young, studly phenom, and he gets the Senators to the last game of the season, or maybe they do the one-game playoff to get past the Yankees to win the pennant. And in the middle of the game, he turns back into an old man.
Oh.
Okay, what are those things? Quite there. And so the song "You Gotta Have Heart," miles and miles and miles of heart, that is from that music.
Okay.
And so, so it's kind of a real life or a real simulation version of that.
Now, if the Senators, who'd you say were 54 and 100 or something?
54 and 100, yeah.
And what are they on pace for now? 80 and 80, maybe?
They've won 31 or 32 games. They're playing 620 baseball.
Okay, so they might end up,
Oh, if they finish it's a 154 game season. If they finish at 500, I'd be thrilled.
Now, what happens?
Still be about 20 games above where they finish.
What would happen though? And I don't know if he's had this for a topic or not yet, but what would happen if they tore it up and you got a team that was 54 wins and they end up with 84 wins? I know it could happen in a replay, and that's why you play these things, but
there are anomalies. I think it makes for a good story. It'd be one of those things, though. If you bought the game, and let's say that was your season. Let's say, for more modern terms, you're a Seattle Mariners fan. 77, 78, 79, when they were a young expansion team and completely sucked, to be blunt. Barely winning 60 games if they won 60 games. And here you are, you're doing the 79 Mariners, and they're contending with Kansas City and California going the last week of the season. If you're a Mariners fan, that's great. But if you were trying out one of these games, you see us playing it and going, this isn't realistic at all. How the hell is this team doing it? You would kind of
would that sour you on the game?
I think if you didn't know the game, I could see that. If you got an anomaly of that point, because look, if the Senators continue to play well, it would be a huge anomaly. I mean, we're literally talking, if you sim that season 1,000 times, if they hit 500 total, maybe 10 out of the 1,000. They're not designed to do that. They're expected to do right around 50, 60 wins.
Yeah. I suppose if it happened once, it'd be like, well, that's neat because, I enjoy that myself. I enjoy, a team that maybe completely overachieves and completely underachieves in one of my replays. But, I can see how that, that might sour you a little bit, if you were playing that. You're like, but boy, this is really unrealistic,
We had a case when you and I met with the 78 Kansas City Chiefs. And no quarterback. They're running a wishbone in the NFL. Okay, they finished 4-12, 6-10, 4-12, somewhere. They lost double-digit games. Okay, they go on a tear in my replay. They either backed in. They got in the playoffs. I think they got waxed in the wild card game.
Didn't you say that they lost a lot of close games that year, though?
But when Al Red Sox fan and I were talking about it during that run, he went and looked, and they lost 4 or 5 games by less than 4 points.
So they were in a lot of those games.
In the NFL, what's the difference between a 10-6 team and a 6-10 team? It could be as little as 5 points. And so, yes, you could see it. You knew they weren't going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, if they had played the Cowboys or made it to the AFC Championship game, but no, there's no way in hell that's there. But and so I'm going to have to go look to see what the Senators did, because they are it's one you're going to have a team in every replay that overperforms. It happens. You have teams that underperform. You got to make up with it with a team that overperforms.
Now, when you're playing this in Action PC, do you have it set for? Can random trades and random injuries happen in your replay?
No, they're all as played for the baseball.
Okay, so in other words, if there was
running up the real lineups on that given day.
Okay, so if there was somebody that got hurt, it's factored in, but it's not like Joe DiMaggio would come back and get hurt in his first game back and miss the rest of the season. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
So you're kind of playing, almost an as is. These are the guys who played.
These are the guys that
there's going to be nothing out of the ordinary happening here. And
because we're playing 3 or 4 games a week, I want everything to be consistent. I try to do things so if the computer's using the real lineups, then I'm going to use the real lineups. It gets the usage in anyway. But no, I'm not trying to get the best out of the teams that I'm actually playing. I treat it like you would watching a game on the old Game of the Week or Monday Night Baseball. You drop into Dodger Stadium, and here's the lineups that Tommy Lasorda has, and here's what Sparky Anderson had.
So without injuries and trades in there, that didn't happen.
Real life trades happened.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there's nothing.
No, this isn't an OTP in that sense. There's no.
Okay, so your results should, if you're using the same exact lineups, there should be a small percentage of sway either way. But for the most part,
I would think if you finish within 5 games or maybe 8 games of first place, enough can happen that you could do it. My first replay, which was 82. The American League I had right. It was American League had California and Baltimore. But remember, Baltimore and Milwaukee went to that last weekend of the season, and Milwaukee won it. So Baltimore and Milwaukee would have been a wash. Okay, California won the West as they did. And the National League had 2 different teams. Had Montreal instead of St. Louis. St. Louis didn't play all that well in that replay. And the Dodgers, who were right in it the last weekend with Atlanta and San Francisco, won the West. So, okay, I only had 1 real-life winner, but 2 of the 3 the 2 others were flip a coin.
Mm-hmm.
In my 78, we had 3 real-life winners. The Yankees won the East, although they couldn't quite clinch as early as they thought, thanks to the Cleveland Indians. Don't ask me why. The Dodgers won the West in the National League. The Phillies won the National League East, so I had the real-life NLCS. And Texas got past. Texas was the only anomaly, but in real life, they were only 5 games out of first place.
Yeah. And so, now, do you like to see? I know we probably talked about this before. When you're, and I'm not doubting the validity of Action PC Sports by any means, or any other game, but when you see something really out of the ordinary happening, like I say, a team that's on pace, maybe they do 84 wins instead of 54 wins, or a team that, like I say, won 12 games in football, wins 6 games in football, something. Beyond the certain degree of, we talk about, the team finishing, close to what their record is. Do you like that, or does that bug you? I mean, how do you feel about that when you're trying to play statistically accurate and you got one team that's like, wow, this team was really good in real life and they're way out of it, or this team never had
the Red Sox? It bothered me.
In general.
It bothered me in 78 because I knew what they were capable of doing, and the computer didn't handle them real well. I think a human manager could have done a lot better over 162 of the Red Sox than what the computer did. But it was fair because it treated every team like that, and so you got to get rid of your own personal biases. You do. I mean, again, we've talked about this before. If you want to read about real life, buy a subscription to newspapers.com, and you can sit there and read the Boston Globe or the New York Daily News or whatever and read about how your favorite team did in a given year, or Baseball Reference. You want some variation of that. If the Senators kind of hang on, and remember, we started later, we're only 50 games in the season, so everyone still has 2/3 of the season to go. I don't think the Senators are going to be in the shouting. I keep waiting for the collapse. It's very nice to have now. Does it bother me? I think if it was my first try with the game, it might bother me because I didn't know how it worked. But no, if it's an engine I trust, or if it's an engine you trust, and you get something that is kind of out of bounds, it's possible. It's always possible. You do want to see that variation, or else you would just kind of go, okay, 78 was, these four teams. If you don't believe in any variation, then just start with the playoffs. And let the chips fall where they may. My general thinking is, regardless of the sport, once you take the proverbial virtual rubber bands off the cards, all things are in play. Anything can possibly happen. You can control some of the variables, such as same-day injuries, so injuries don't carry over, so you're forced to use the lineups in there. But once you put the cards in front of you, or once you load up the game, it's cool if Gaylord Perry throws 12 innings, and he threw 12 innings in real life, but I'm not going to force Perry to throw 12 innings if he gets hammered for 5 runs in the second. That sort of thing. It's what happened in real life happened once. You can kind of come close to replicating that in some things. We talked about this last week with the tribute games. But to expect things to happen in the same order, why would you play it?
Yeah, I think I would be okay if it happened.
I gotta trust the engine first.
Yeah, I would be okay if it happened once in a while. But if I constantly saw, like the 70s Steelers not make the playoffs, then, and, a really bad team consistently make the playoffs, it just, it's fun when you see that variation. But if it happens too often, then you start to question things like, okay, well, not that I want the exact results. I'd like a little bit different results, but if they're extremely, different results, then you got to wonder about things. So yeah, again, I think some of it has to do with familiarity with what you're playing. Mm-hmm.
And at some point, as we gave you the example of the Chiefs, look it up. See, how is this team so bad? Why are they overperforming? And again, a field goal here, a touchdown there. Especially in football, those add up.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that your 4-12 teams should be contending for Super Bowls every year, because usually you're 4-12 for a reason. If you're getting blown out by 10 points and I'll need to go. I mean, the curious thing about the Senators is, and I'll leave it at this, is that their run differential, which is usually a very good indication of performance. If you give up more runs than you score, you aren't going to win.
Imagine we just talked 10 to 12 minutes about the Washington Senators.
Yes.
That's what we do on the show.
It's a -6. They are playing well over their heads. They're going to come back down to earth. So it's not like, if you look at the stats and going, this shouldn't be happening, they've gotten luckier than a teenage boy in a roadhouse in Texas after a big football game with Dolly Parton and Burt Reynolds. There's nothing dirty going on. But so that sort of thing. So it's going to, reality they'll wake up tomorrow morning and they'll still be the Senators. But yes, this is the magic of the show, is that I didn't even get into the horse racing or any other stuff I've been doing.
Yeah, but what else you play? So, I mean, you played some Action PC baseball in that season.
Done some Action PC baseball.
I saw you did the horse racing video. You did 3 races, right?
I did the trip. I got some, my Patreon and Twitch money usually gets plowed back into other gaming. And I bought a couple sets from Lawn. And so now I have all the Triple Crown winners.
And that's top of the stretch, right?
Top of the stretch. And so I ran exclusively the Triple Crown winners in a Triple Crown. And Lon was very sweet about what I said. And he put it out. I had Man of War won my Kentucky Derby, which apparently he didn't run in real life.
That's a great band, by the way. Have you ever listened to Man of War?
No.
I think you would like Man of War. After the show, we'll play some Man of War.
Thanks, Wikipedia, for being honest and upright like you normally are. So I run. So I've got them all just for a poop and giggles thing, because I think that's what people would do. Okay, I can run. You can do all these. It's the same reason why you would put Bork and Orr on the same defensive.
Mm-hmm.
And the Boston Bruins grades beat the Montreal Canadiens grades. Probably in the best of 7 series, you probably would take that to 6. But in all seriousness. And so I ran Man and War, they all 14 horses in the same 3 races. And so the first one, of course, was the Derby. And I noticed as I'm racing it and calling it that the track wasn't fast. It was good. Dirt tracks had different grades. So it obviously had rained, and so it wasn't sloppy. It wasn't slow. It was a drying out track, essentially. It's a good track. Or maybe it's raining. It had just started to rain. And so run the race, and Man of War did something I had never seen in a Derby. He gets in those last 2 furlongs down the stretch, and he just takes right off. He won the damn thing by 7 lengths, which never happens. That's the same as Secretariat in the Belmont. Okay, and I read the time, and I'm not real familiar with Secretariat's records. I know, but I'm not very familiar with all the records. And Man of War ran that 1.25 miles in 1:57.08. And so Lon and I are talking an email back and forth, and he said, "Ron, he said that's the highest speed index I've ever seen at that kind of distance. Because if you're familiar with top of the stretch, speed index is how places and times are determined." He said, "I've never seen a speed index that high." He said if it was a real life race, that horse would have broken the record at Churchill Downs for 1.25 miles by 3/4 of a second.
Well, he got some good rolls.
Apparently he had some good rolls. And again, that game is mathematically sound. It's plausible. And so.
But again, when I did my 1976 Buccaneers versus Steelers, project, in one game, I think it was Momentum Football, the Buccaneers beat the Steelers. And it's only because I was consistently rolling the exact numbers I needed for Tampa Bay. That's and the Steelers kept turning the ball over with 11s and 12s or whatever it was. And it was just amazing that the dice rolls were coming. And that's the only way that they could have won it is for them to get all the rolls and the Steelers to get none of the rolls. And it just kind of happened. And it was a fun game. I kind of wish I had that one, streamed, because that would have been fun to watch the rolls come out, how bad they were for one team. But in this case here, Manuel gets all the rolls and he breaks the record.
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. And, and like I said, I saw the time, read the time, was amazed. I think I was more amazed at the distance that he won the race by. That never happens in a 1.25 mile race. And, yeah, Lon said 1:57 and 4/5. So 1:57.8 something to 1:58 flat. And yeah, 1:57.08 I think was the winning time. Just absolutely unbelievable. That would have been in real life. That would have been talked about in the same revered tones as Nadia Comaneci's 10 at the 76 Olympics and Secretariat at the Belmont. Just absolute destruction.
That's pretty cool. So
that's pretty much. So that's what I've been playing.
Okay,
and that's the show.
Over here in Studio B, we've had some health issues over here.
Yeah. So
it's just been a downtime, very downtime. That's why you haven't seen me streaming much. It's just been a downtime. Let's just say that, and I'll talk more about it, as we go on later on in other shows. But so I haven't really played much. I just I even stopped playing Gems of War. That's just how the mood has been around here. I've been playing a little bit more on my.
Try the PvP. I think you'd like it.
Yeah, I might give that a go. I started playing again on Steam, my House of 1,000 Doors. I have 3 or 4 of those games now. They're just point-and-click puzzle games and a little adventure game. Real simple to play. But they've just been relaxing me at night. And, what's been going on over here, that's exactly what I needed to do. I haven't gotten into anything heavy, although I did play some Action PC Golf, which I haven't played in a long time. I played a couple of holes. Boy, I'm rusty on that. I completely forgot how to play that game. I'm in the sand. I'm in the water. I was like, okay, I need to concentrate a little bit harder here. But I played like 9 holes of that. That was fun. Played a little bit of Action PC Football. I hadn't played that in a long time either. I was like, I want to pop that back in and just, refresh myself. So I think I played a quarter of a game with like Patriots Bills or something like that. And just played around with it and had some fun with it. And then I did play a period or two of my 69-70 Boston Bruins replay in Action PC hockey. So I've kind of been hitting the Action PC games pretty hard this week. And Bruins are on the road trip. They're out in L.A. right now playing the Kings. And I'm not real thrilled with how the Bruins are playing in my season, in the 69-70 season. I know they won the Cup that year, and I know it wasn't a cakewalk by any means, but boy, I tell you, I kind of...
It wasn't the finals.
It wasn't a final, but I kind of expected them to kind of roll through the season, and we're struggling on the West Coast. We've already lost. I think we tied Minnesota and lost to Pittsburgh or something. I mean, it's been a really weird season. We're still early in it. I'm not playing every game. I'm playing like every other game or something like that. But yeah, the Bruins are not doing well in my replay. I mean, they're in first or second place, so they're not in last, but I mean, it's just they're not stomping like I thought the big bad Bruins would be stomping teams. So anyway, that's what I've been playing over here, and I still got my Hockey Blast set up ready to go, but I just can't get up to Studio C to play it right now. It's just too much going on up near Studio C. But and I need to get back to my Celtics replay PC basketball season. I enjoyed that. I was streaming those games. That's one of the only projects I think I've streamed every game of the season, and I just might as well continue it because it's been fun, it's been relaxing.
And someone in the community we've been talking to says it really does feel like basketball. I do think that PC replay basketball is the one game. I mean, there's plenty of different mousetraps out there.
Yeah.
But as far as sitting down and watching a game, feeling like you're in the gym or in the arena, I think that game does.
I just like how
excellent job.
You can roll your own dice, or you can let the computer roll the dice. So I let the computer do it. It's just faster. And when I see the dice roll, because it's a very simple game laid out so well, I kind of know what that roll is. I don't really have to be looking up at things. I mean, the fast breaks, I might have to look at the chart if I want to fall on, but a lot of the times you roll the dice and you can look at the player's card and see what's going to happen, or the fast action card tells you what happened, and it's all laid out on the screen, and it's like, oh, this is fantastic. You know what I mean? Because I can, roll the dice and broadcast the game because of how it's laid out. I see what's going on, and the replay PC baseball, there's a lot of charts in that where, if you roll off a column 1, I think it's better for pitchers, and column 6 is better for batters, and in between it's a little bit different. But the basketball game, everything's laid out right in front of you, and that's what I really, really like about the basketball game. And so that's why that streams so well, and it feels like you're playing basketball. It really does, because everything flows right there on the table. And the baseball game flows too, but if you want to follow along, you do have to look at charts.
The baseball game is a bit more complicated than a lot of the other baseball games out there, but I think Richard, as we've talked about before, has done a magnificent job of turning that into a game that even you'd like. Yeah. And I'm not being mean about that at all. No. I would consider replay baseball to be of the advanced variety, with the quick plays being the simplest, and strat base, the basics being nothing wrong with the basic game, but there's nothing basic about replay at all. And I think it does a good job, and there's good flow to it, even though there's a lot going on and a lot to keep track of. So
so that's kind of what I've been playing there. I actually wrote down all the products I'm working on and keep track of them all because I get like 6 or 7 going on here, and some of them I'm not in any hurry in any of these, by the way, and I just pick off one here and there, and some I haven't played in months. It's just how it goes. But I finally got a list of my stuff. I have it right here in front of me, so if I sit down, it's okay, which one of these products should I get back onto? So, all right, so should we get to the meat and potatoes of the show?
Sure. Once upon a time, the only sports games that you could play were baseball, maybe football, some basketball, and air hockey.
Oh, air hockey. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Today, you can play anything because, A, it really doesn't cost a lot of money to develop games that may or may not sell, and you can play 1,000 different versions of said game. We've talked about that a lot over the years, or over the time that we've been together. But more games are coming out and sports that you may not necessarily think that you'd want to play. You know, do you ever think that you would play a horse racing game or a bowling game or a soccer game? Cards and dice statistically based games. As the internet continues to give us more and more information, math is math, and you can make pretty much a game out of everything. In fact, I have played a gymnastics game. Did it feel like gymnastics? I don't know. You're not getting me on the uneven bars anytime soon for a variety of different reasons, primarily because I'm pushing 50, and the surgeries that would be required for me to do the uneven parallel bars would be quite painful.
You strike me as a pole vault type of guy. Just saying.
See, track and field is actually one of my favorite kind of eccentric or niche games. But whatever it is that your sport is, there is you can literally scratch that niche. Richard Hanna's got some games out there, Speedway, Formula One, skiing, rugby. I mean, Roberto Chavini has the gymnastics game I've played. He's redoing all the Olympic sets that he's done.
Yeah.
For complete Olympics. And one of the things that they contested in the 1932 Winter Olympics in Lake Placid, dog sledding. If you really want to do dog sledding, you can. Why you would, I don't know. Just for the sake of completeness, I suppose. But whatever it is, it's there. And I mean, again, statistics are out there that we didn't necessarily have before. And my dad, when he was alive, wrote about ski racing. There's not much more of a niche sport in real life than watching people ski down a mountain and faster than each other by a couple hundredths of a second. What's the difference? I mean, if you watch skier A and skier B, and they're both around the same speed, can you tell the difference? It's not like cars where everyone's on the track at the same time. It's one skier at a time for an hour and a half. And he loved it. He absolutely, I mean, that was his career. He grew up on the shores of Lake Erie, where there weren't a lot of ski areas in Western New York, okay, especially in the 50s and 60s. But that was what his passion was, and that's what he loved to do. And yes, there's a game for that. Golf, again, that's not something that you're going to go, you know what? I feel like pulling out the clubs today and doing that. I mean, we talked about Action PC Golf. We actually did a whole show on that. Soccer games, which would be in the UK and Europe, that would probably be mainstream. Here, that's pretty niche. So horse racing, things that you might watch or think about once or twice a year. Might be someone else's favorite sport. You're like, no. There's a Mandalorian marathon on Disney Plus. I want to watch that. But there's barrel jumping on Wide World of Sports. There's a Mandalorian marathon that I'm going to have with my popcorn.
I watched that, by the way.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Binged both seasons.
So there are just as much equal games to scratch that niche. So if, let's say, you grew up and went, I remember watching the Cliff Divers on Wide World, or whatever it was. Boxing. You remember the time that we all got drunk together and watched Leon Spinks beat Muhammad Ali? Yeah, you can replay that. So,
what I like too, to take that a step further, I mean, even if you play some of the 4 major sports or 5 major sports, whatever it is, sometimes you play an unknown league. I mean, there's people
Japanese league,
there's people
league,
we talk to that love the Japanese league, and they play that all the time. Myself, I love to go to the WHA, the World Hockey Association, and play some of those teams, because there was a handful of NHLers that played over there, and guys that come out of that and went to the NHL. So you play those teams, and you're like, I remember this guy, and I've heard of this guy, and so the ABA.
Yes.
I have that for regular season basketball. I have an ABA season, and that's fun because it's a little off the beaten path. And
small colleges playing a University of Vermont replay. I mean, if you're doing college basketball, Duke, Carolina, Georgetown, the bigger Kentucky, the bigger schools, little podunk Vermont. Who the hell's going to play that?
Do you know who does probably I don't want to say the best job, but the most consistent job with the niche stuff is Joseph Midget.
Yes.
He's always posting these bizarre sports, and he's posting them in the Roberto Schiavini group on Facebook, and I don't know if he posts them in our group or not, but he's always like, here's his project, and he does it in PowerPoint, and he has all the standings and the stats.
Yeah, he took the idea for the slides, and
it's fun. It's like, holy cow, look at this. He just played this today, and he just played this, and it's like
just as we taping this, he just finished the '88 Winter Olympic hockey tournament.
Yes, yeah, I saw some of that. And he posts the scores and the standings, and he does some completely, like you say, niche
Italian
stuff.
baseball league.
Yeah, he's posting all this stuff, and some of it I've never heard of, and some of it I'm vaguely familiar with, but it's like, he must be having a blast doing all that stuff.
It's fun because, for me, it's fun because there's really no expectations in it. I've done some Formula One stuff. Again, a niche sport in this country, and requires imagination. Okay, this week we're at Monaco. Okay, you're not going to pass a lot in Monaco, but you get the sense of how this stuff works. I saw someone post this morning the Malta Premier Soccer League. I didn't realize that Malta had a top flight soccer league. From 2014, 2015, complete final standings. And
the only thing I know about that, Ron, is there was a wrestler in the 70s from the Isle of Malta. That's how they introduced him. And I forget his name now, but it was like he was from the Isle of Malta, supposedly.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't know who this guy was. That's the only thing. But I guess they got on the Isle of Malta. They got soccer leagues.
You can be so creative. The wrestling games kind of fit in with that, because it's all about pure imagination. You roll for the results, and you could come up with, as we've talked about time and time again, you're writing a story in your head.
Oh my! I've had so much fun playing wrestling games. Was it Chris's Dice Wrestling game? It's actually a move-by-move game, and you try to wear the guy down. I've had some fun with that. Oh my gosh, I've had fun with that. And then the Downey Ultra Quick Wrestling, where you set up your own federation. You have your heels, you have your faces. And then they square off, and it's not a blow by blow type of game, but it's one of these where it's like there's a pre-match, during the match, and a post-match, and it tells you kind of what happened. And when the match is done, your guys move up or down in their respective categories, and as you move up, you can challenge for the title, and as you move down, maybe you switch from a heel to a face or a face to a heel, and it's just, you just post the results, but it's kind of fun, you know what I mean? It's like, this guy won by disqualification, this guy got pinned, this guy used a finishing move, this guy was disqualified from. It's just your typical 80s 90s wrestling stuff, but yeah, it is fun to sit down. You get that itch once in a while. So you got that itch. It's like, I want to play some wrestling, and I'm going back to my federation, and I got Chief Jay Strongbow taking on Jesse Ventura tonight. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. It's just a good time.
I think one of the better, more mainstream full play games for that is Red, White, and Blue Racing.
That is fun. Yeah, I've
played that too.
I've played a couple of races with that. That is a fun one there. It really is. And my concern about that was, after you dole out all the cards into their places, it's like, if you're in the back group, it's like, what the heck kind of chance you get to win this race? Well, the second race I ran, a guy in the back squeaked his way up into the second group, and next thing you know, it was his turn to challenge. He actually took first place over for like a smidgen of a second. But a guy in the back was in first place until I rolled and somebody bumped him out. But he finished in the top 6 or whatever. And that's all I want. That's all I ask out of that game is just, I don't want to start and finish with everybody in the same order, because why play?
Auto racing is so tough because you wouldn't want to go lap by lap. Let's do lap by Bristol. Well, Bristol's 500 laps.
Yeah, no, you got to do it in segments.
43 drivers. And so you'd give yourself tennis elbow trying to do that. Another good one is time travel tennis, which surprisingly is a shot by shot game, not even point by point.
That works though.
But it works. And again, there are no seasons with it. There's eras, but the game works. And again, because you're using your imagination, and so you can see Connors and McEnroe playing at Flushing Meadow, or maybe the Williams sisters actually playing against each other for real.
But I like how you roll can you roll your own dice in that?
You can roll your own dice.
Or let the computer do. But I like how when you roll let the computer roll the dice, the chart comes up to show you what the hit was. And it usually only takes 3 or 4 hits to determine the point. So and
you can see how the point develops. Too.
Yeah. Yep. And sometimes you get an ace right off the bat because you roll a good number. So you can see what number you need to roll for an ace and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm a casual tennis guy, but I do like.
I think for a lot of these sports that most people are casual fans. Yes, you'll have people who are true track and field fans. I mean, I'm a huge golf fan. I'm a casual auto racing fan. There are certain races I watch. I'll watch the Indy 500 and stuff like that. But yes, that these games somehow are able to capture the feel and the flow of the sport that you're trying to emulate. I mean, the sumo wrestling game, I haven't played that yet. I looked over the cards that Joe sent, and it looks fascinating.
I know. I have that. I need to play that myself. That looks really fun.
It's like, is it realistic? I don't know. I know nothing about the sport except for you got to be really, really beefy. But it looks fun. And sometimes they would show these things on TV in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s just so you could get a little different taste of. Yeah. Instead of watching the same 4 things over and over and over again, it's like, okay, you remember the time we watched that guy? Yes. There's no Evel Knievel thing yet, but give it time.
Now, do you think when we talk about playing a niche game like that, it's a small itch to scratch? Like, you're not going to do a big project with this. This is going to be...
I think it depends. I mean, if you grew up with a dad that loved auto racing, that you might take on a bigger project than that because it brings you back to a time. If you're dead, a lot of us have parents that are no longer with us of one degree or another, that, that you'd sit there and be time to reminisce about, your dad taking a nap on the couch on a Sunday afternoon watching the Daytona 500 or whatever. So it is possible, and I know that I can get the Formula One game down to about 45 minutes. Set up in that, and then scoring it after all that. So it's not like some of these games take forever to play. And so, no, you get an interest in a driver or whatever. I could see doing a full-fledged project. Some of these things you could do over the course of an evening. This Roberto soccer game doesn't take all that long to play. And so, yeah, you could, over the course of maybe 4 or 5 nights, bang out a full season. I mean, we're not talking about an hour or two to play an individual game. On the computer, obviously, you can set something up and just come back to it at your leisure. The tennis game and the golf game and stuff like that. So, yeah, you could. I think people are always surprised, no matter what the project is, that not only other people have an interest, but there's a full of copycats. Monkey see, monkey do. And so, would I go through and do a full NASCAR season? No. But I've like a quarter of the way through a full F1 season.
Would you consider that soccer football manager game you're playing, would that be a niche?
In this country, it would be a niche. In North America, it would be a niche, just because of soccer standing here in North America. I believe it's the best-selling sports game in Europe. It would be the equivalent of buying Madden.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Here, but yes, the management games are a niche. You are not playing the game per se. You are not rolling the dice to see if Willie Mays draws the walk. Management games are very much I'm making the decisions in the front office as opposed to playing, letting the computer handle the actual games, and then I can get mad at the computer for not doing what I want it to do. That very much is a broad sense of a niche game, but it's very different from I'm taking the cards, I'm taking the charts, we're going to roll. We're playing the Bruins tonight. Instead, I'm going to run the Bruins and sign contracts and fire Harry Sinden and all that. So, yes. I mean, this is very much a niche community anyway. There are at any given time 5 or 6 very prominent baseball replays going on, and not one is the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing 49. You're not, at the same time you are, or whatever. I could do one season in the 40s. We have people that we know do seasons from the 60s. Dead ball would certainly be a niche. It's a very different game than what we're used to. Doesn't mean it's any less, so that sort of thing. For football, you play a football replay from the 40s, it's a hell of a lot different from the football from today. And so every replay is kind of a niche replay. There has to be an interest in it, but specifically, to a long answer to your question.
Now, do you use the niche games to kind of like fill in stuff, those palate cleansers once in a while? Or?
Palate cleanser is a good way to do that, because bread and butter for most of us is some sort of order: baseball, football, basketball, hockey. Not enough people play hockey, to be honest. I think hockey in the tabletop, a lot of games translate very well. Mm-hmm. But yes, I'm primarily a baseball streamer. You're primarily a hockey streamer. Al's primarily a boxing streamer, and a lot of what ifs. And so at some point, what are you going to pull out again today? I mean, I like ice cream, but I don't want to eat the same damn flavor of ice cream over and over and over again. Or I might want a gelato. Or, look, pudding. Shadow. That sort of thing. And so once in a while you scratch that sports itch, but it's at something that you wouldn't necessarily think of. It's like, remember when I tried the gymnastics game, it's like, why in the world he offered it, and I think I paid for it. Why would anybody do this? I mean, that's one of the things you go, why would you do this? There's no visuals involved. You're essentially rolling for final score. And I found myself, when I set it up, absolutely enthralled by it, because I did an all-around competition. So everyone's going that more than one round. And so if Susie Cream Cheese needs to get at least a 9.75 on her vault to medal. And so that drama gets created in your head.
Well, the horse racing that you did, when you were rolling the dice, explaining that top of the stretch game there, you get down to the last roll of the race, and it started at the bottom with the bottom horse, and you rolled, and it gave him his final time, I think is how it worked out.
Speed index. It gives you your final speed index.
So you pretty much knew, as you were rolling, so you'd start at horse 12 and then 11 and 10, and so you knew what the horse needed to roll. So once you got to the horse 5, you're like, okay, horse 5, if he doesn't roll this, then he's not going to finish, and it was neat watching that play out as you rolled the dice, because it was like everybody still had that last roll, and this is what they need. And there was some guys that were like, all he needs is a 15, and he rolls a 14. And it's like, that is a horrible, top of the stretch for this guy, and his speed index is horrible. And so he's going to drop from 4th to 9th because of that roll right there. And it was fun seeing that, you know what I mean?
That's what, when I do the Daring Racers, the F1 game, that's how I do it. I go from bottom up, because those drivers aren't going to win anyway. And so it just kind of, again, adds to the drama at the end. Okay, Hamilton, he can lose this race. He's probably not, but
it's just, everyone's slotted in. You get down to the last guy who was the leader, and it's like, he's most likely going to win. But if he rolls an 11
or 12,
he doesn't win,
He doesn't win, yeah.
And there's that's where the fun comes in. Or it's like, this guy here, if he doesn't roll 63 to 66, let's say, yeah, he ain't gonna move up at all.
It's the Freddie Lynn walk-off homers and the most unlikely things. And some, because we do a lot of this stuff for public consumption, this stuff doesn't stream real well. I would never stream a whole car race. There's nothing really to see. You could talk about it in my auto race. I can sit there and read Wikipedia and do a half hour on it, but when you get right down to it, where you're coming down those, you got 3 drivers left, or there's 3 horses left, and that's where the excitement comes in. Is right there. You're building all the way through it. Can you break the world record or whatever? If he rolls anything but a 12 it's his. And if he rolls a 2 or a 3, he's going to break the world record. He rolled a 12. He fell. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and...
I have a game run. I've only played it once, and I think it was Dice Racing. I think it was called.
Oh yeah, I remember you getting that. Yeah.
And I to try it out one night, I just took 10 drivers, and I rolled, and I think there was you got 10 rolls for each, and you know what was kind of fun about that, you would roll. And then that would slot them into their 1 through 10 slot. So they had like a qualifier, I guess it would be, and you would roll on that and factor in this and that. So you got and then you would roll the dice to see how it worked out. And I only did 10 drivers, and I did the 6 or 10 rolls, whatever it was in the game. And the lead switched hands a couple of times. And coming down on the last lap, guys 1, 2, 3, and 4 were well in control. And when I rolled, one of the top guys rolled an accident. There was a disaster. And you rolled for each car to see if they got past the disaster or not. And the top 4 drivers all wound up in the crash, and driver 5 or 6 won the race.
Sounds like what happened this past weekend at Daytona.
Yeah. And
first-time winner. And he caused the wreck.
Yeah, and it was fun because that's the only time I played the dice racing game. And here it was. I rolled the dice thinking these guys are just flying down the stretch, and there was a crash, and the guy way back in 4th or 5th place won the race on the last lap because of a crash. It was fun. It was a good time, and again, that was a niche for me because I've only played it once or twice, but and I haven't really played it properly. Like I said, I just was trying it out, but that's the type of fun you can have in a niche game. It's like, that was incredible. I was like, look at that. That was really fun. They don't stream all that well unless you get really creative with it. You
can get really creative with it. I mean that's all. We could do a whole niche show on what streams well and what doesn't. But some of these things, the golf, in order to do it properly, that took a lot of work. Plus, you're doing it for 2 hours. But yeah, to make that look right, to make it look like, to give people to hook people in so they'll watch. Yeah, that I think takes more work than anything else I've done. It's worth it if people like it, but that's the other thing, is that don't judge any game by how it looks on a YouTube or a Twitch stream, because
it's very different when it's in front of you and you're playing it. It is
when it's right, because you're just playing for yourself.
Yeah.
And just because it looks awkward on a stream doesn't mean that it plays awkward.
It's kind of like in the days of the arcade, you're looking over someone's shoulder playing the game, and it's like, but once you get in there and you're working the controls of that game at the arcade, it becomes a very different game.
Gems of War, although I've never seen a stream that's kind of like that. You were talking about going, this sounds boring.
I streamed it for a few minutes one day.
And my wife will come in, and I'm doing something, and she's headed off to work. Love you, darling. And she's going, you're addicted to this game. Stop playing it.
I was addicted, yeah. And
then I'll go to her and say, Mana Surge. Shut up, you weirdo. But yes, so a lot of them will never get streamed, or you might get edited highlights of that, because would you sit and watch people cross-country ski for an hour?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But playing your product and posting the results like some people do, it's enjoyable because you don't have
Malta Premier League. That might be the most obscure thing I have ever seen. But it's great.
But yeah, it's different, and it's fun, and it's off the beaten path, and it's like I say, it's like going to a restaurant you've never been before, and you're like, maybe we go back, maybe we don't, but we tried something different tonight, and it was fun.
That's a very good thing, because I don't know if I would pay $50-$60 to go to a Nepalese restaurant the first time, sight unseen. I don't know if I'm going to like the food or not, but if someone brings a dish from said restaurant and I like it, and maybe it's like a dollar a dip or something like that, I go, oh, I like this. Okay, now if my wife wants to go, okay, there's something on the menu I think I might like. That sort of thing. We're not going to go into the pineapple pizza thing, but
I was just thinking that. How did you read my mind?
But you know where I'm going with that. I mean, you wouldn't want to sit there and pay full price for something and go, oh.
The thing is, though, most of these niche games, though, maybe not most, but there's a lot of these niche games that are not expensive at all because they're so niche games. They're smaller games, if that makes any sense. You know?
Yes, yeah, and they're smaller games, and I think that makes you more willing to try something.
Yeah. No, obviously you get some of the golf and the racing games, which if you get the play games or something like that, they're $30, $40, $50 or whatever it is. But, a lot of these games here, like the Tractor Pull from Downey's not that expensive. A lot of the wrestling games we talked about are not expensive. $10. Yeah. There's some on sportsreplays.net, there's a ton of free games on there that you can download of niche stuff. The Roberto Schiavini games are between $2 and $10, you know what I mean? So you can try these games out for very short money, and so you're not sinking $50-$60 in to try a niche game.
Right, because that's the thing is because we've all been burnt with, I want to do this. It's a game company that no longer exists. Tennis game. Bought a tennis game from them. And the game wasn't ready. And so it was like $30.
Yeah.
And so excited about having a tennis game. This was well before time travel. And, okay, $30. I got a tennis game I can play. And it was buggy.
Yeah.
So you once bitten, twice shy type deal.
But like I say, a lot of these things here, if you want to play something,
a lot of these are try the hook, or if you because the developers are small, you just go, I'm kind of curious about X. Can you send me at least send me the directions, maybe a couple sample teams, and see if I like it. So.
Yep. So we want to ask the audience, what are some of your niche games that you play? What do you play that's off the beaten path? What do you play? Maybe you get done a big project or something like that and you want to try something small, or maybe you've stumbled on a game or stumbled on a video or stumbled on a post somewhere and you're like, what game is that? I want to try that. And it's something that you normally wouldn't play. But you get the itch to play something. So so today we're talking scratch that niche. What's the niche that you need to scratch, or would you like to scratch, or you have scratched? And what kind of result have you had? Have you had fun with it? Or is it something that it's a one-off and they'll never do that again? So we'd like to know your thoughts on that. And this has been the Digital to Dice podcast, episode 76. That's the spirit, Ron.
That's always.
That's the spirit. Ways to get a hold of us. digitaltodice.com is where we park all the podcasts over on Spreaker. 978-751-DICE. 978-751-3423. If you'd like to send us a text, digitaltodice@yahoo.com is our email. And over on Facebook, facebook.com/group/digitaltodice. Join in on the conversation. Let us know what you're playing. Are you playing any niche games right now? And if you like some cool Digital to Dice gear, I saw Al streaming the other night with the Digital to Dice mouse pad. Was kind of neat. Head over to cafepress.com/digital to dice, and we get all kinds of great stuff there that will help support the podcast. Anyway, so any final thoughts, Ron?
I'm pretty good.
All right. So we will catch you next time.
All right. For Dave, I'm Ron.
No. This is what you say. Bye-bye. We already went through all that. They know who we are. Just say bye-bye.
Good night, Gracie.
That'll do.